The batter's box can be a lonely place for a hitter. Whether you're new in the league or going through a slump, standing alone at the plate can be the ultimate isolation in baseball. But imagine you dig into the box, look behind you, just to see your own brother putting down the signs, trying to strike you out. This is likely exactly how William Contreras felt matching up against his older brother Wilson for the very first time. The 26-year-old that came over to the Brewers in part of a head-scratching, three-team trade ahead of the 2023 season has already proven himself to be one of the best catchers in the league. But the real question is he better than his older brother? MLB Network would say so, ranking William one spot ahead of Wilson in their catching rankings heading into 2024. But honestly, I think this ranking makes their comparison seem way closer than it really is. I mean, obviously the guy that walks out to Timmy Trumpet is going to be the superior Contreras. But a better walk-up song isn't the only criteria we can look at. In this video, we'll take a deep look at the Contreras brothers' offensive and defensive contributions over the years and their head-to-head matchups battling to get each other out and finally answer the question once and for all. Who is the superior Contreras? Welcome back to Brew City Baseball. If you're new here, take a second to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a video. If you've been here before and you're already subscribed, you're the best, I appreciate you, and thanks for waiting. Round 1. Offensive Mashers. In one corner, there's Willson Contreras. For nearly the past decade, the league has been on watch anytime this guy steps into the box, representing one of the most athletic and best-hitting catchers since he first entered the league in 2016. Not my favorite thing to admit as a Brewers fan, but he's done his fair share of damage to the crew over the years. On the offensive side, Wilson has had an impressive career average of .257 with 137 home runs and 432 RBIs to his name for an OPS plus of 116 over his career, making his offensive prowess undeniable. A three-time All-Star and World Series champ who ironically gets way too upset about getting clipped for someone who has in 5 of his 8 career seasons finished top 10 in the league for hit by pitch. But being a crybaby doesn't take away from him being a certified slugger. However, what would probably make Wilson just a little bit jealous is if his little brother was actually better than him. Enter William Contreras, aka Wild Bill, who if you haven't heard, can hit the ball. Not only was Contreras an all-star in his first full season as a DH in Atlanta, he's grown into a cornerstone piece of the Brewers offense, representing their best and most consistent hitter in 2023. In his debut season with the crew, he batted an impressive .289 with 17 home runs and 78 RBIs. His OPS plus of 125 was top among all NL catchers in 2023 that played at least 100 games. While still maintaining a consistent contact approach at the plate, his power was on full display as well, hitting some of the longest bombs on the crew and earning his first Silver Slugger award in 2023 at just 26 years old. Low-key, look for him to take a big step forward this year after figuring some things out defensively last year. A lot of his focus in 2023 was on learning a new organization, a new pitching staff, and massively improving his defensive game. With less to focus on heading into 2024, I'm suspecting he takes another big step forward offensively this year. He was already voted as the Brewers MVP and top newcomer in 2023, not to mention garnering some MVP votes and finishing top 10 in the NL in batting average. He really was the backbone of the 2023 Brewers offense that would have been lost without him. So, what's going to determine who wins this round? Well, as William has just surpassed 1,000 at-bats in his career, that seems like a pretty good marker to go by. So we'll look at Williams' entire 4-year career to this point, a total of 294 games and nearly 1,200 plate appearances, which stacks up pretty comparably to Wilson's first 3 seasons where he accumulated 1,255 appearances over a slightly higher 331 games, allowing him to take home most of the counting stats. But when we look side by side, not only does William take the edge with 45 homers, but he also dominates the rate stats of batting average, OBP, slugging, OPS, and OPS+. Continuing the comparison, it's actually pretty crazy, but both players won a World Series in their first season in the majors. Willson with the Cubs in 2016, and William with the Braves in 2021. Another cool moment Los Hermanos got to share was the 2022 All-Star Game, where they both suited up for the NL in a pretty heartwarming moment. And to round out the comparison, did I mention the Silver Slugger Award? Because William has been better through this comparable span of their careers and topped Willson in 2023 in most traditional measures, plus he was literally voted as the best hitting catcher in the NL, this round is going to go to William. Round 2, defensive backstops. Not to mention any names, but while one catcher had their catching privileges revoked last season, the other took a massive stride forward into a defensive stonewall and one of the best framers in the league. William was pretty universally considered a poor defensive option before heading to Milwaukee. A credit to all his hard work, he managed to do a complete 180 in just a season with his new club. Milwaukee's catching lab is at it again with their newest reclamation in Contreras. Just a step behind their commendable pitching lab that seems to find arms left and right, the Brewers' catching lab is leading the way too. Even ask Foolish Bailey, who can tell you all about it. It's really a pattern that began with Yasmani Grandal, who was admittedly already very good in 2018 as a Dodger, maybe not so good in the playoffs, but still good enough. But since then, Omar Narvaez, Victor Caratini, and now Contreras have all seen drastic improvements in their catching game, in large thanks to Brewers catching coach legend Charlie Green. I mean, William just worked his ass off too, routinely being the last one in the dugout even after wins, exactly the type of leadership you like to see from your catcher. The contrast between his catching performance with the Braves and with the Brewers is pretty stark. His baseball savant page goes from water blue to fire red in just a single season, improving in all 4 defensively tracked categories, with blocks above average and framing being the biggest areas of improvement. While he's got a pretty average hose behind the plate and a pretty middle-of-the-pack pop time, he steals enough strikes from batters to provide plenty of value behind the dish. If he keeps up this kind of defensive production, he could be a Gold Glover sooner rather than later. As Kurt Hogg mentions, William was second in the NL in defensive value by Fangraphs, even with the very proven JT Realmuto lacking in this category and being a finalist. Willson, on the other hand, doesn't quite share the same defensive prowess as his brother. Willson has his strengths as a catcher, but as with most catchers as they age, has been lacking a bit over the past few seasons to the point where, as I mentioned earlier, had his catching duties revoked just a few short months after signing a massive deal to fill the backstop position in St. Louis. While it's obviously very difficult to fill the legendary shoes of Yadier Molina, and Willson did resume catching later in the year, this still doesn't bode well for his long-term future at the position. Willson has actually been a tank behind the plate in some seasons, killing the game at blocks above average for several years, with standouts like 2018 and 2021 with Chicago. Unlike his little bro, Willson also has a cannon behind the plate, cutting down runners at a pretty impressive rate and finishing above the league average more often than not. On the other hand, Willson has still yet to master the art of framing, really only having 1 or 2 seasons around the league average throughout his career. Another big concern for Willson behind the dish is his proneness to the error bug. Sure, it's great to see your backstop lead the league in assists and caught stealing on multiple occasions, but the asterisk is that he's also been a pretty consistent league leader for errors as a catcher too. I'll also have to dock Willson for his lack of concern for the unwritten rules, especially as a sign caller. I mean, what the my guy? Throwing at a pitcher? I don't care how butthurt you are, that's not cool. -1 for that, even if you pimp a game-winning home run later in the game. While Willson has proven himself throughout his career, considering where they both stand today, the season they are coming off of, and the future abilities they both possess, William is going to walk away the winner of this round as well. Keep it up, William, and no one in the league or your brother will be able to slow you down. Round 3, head-to-head sign callers. I'm sure the worst part of this rivalry between the two, knowing that the guy calling the pitches knows your swing, your approach, your strengths and weaknesses like the back of his hand because they've known you your whole life. Well, it's definitely advantage catcher in this situation. But which one calls the signs better head to head? Obviously a bragging right in its own. Let's see who's been able to hold down their hermano more. Keep in mind that because William has essentially only played in 2.5 seasons and both tend to DH quite frequently, their versus sample size is pretty limited to around 20 at-bats each. So this is more or less just for fun. While their first head-to-head matchup would take place as part of the Braves and Cubs, the two matched up in the Cardinals-Brewers rivalry in 2023. First, we'll take a look at Willson, who over 21 at-bats with William behind the plate was able to record a hit on 5 occasions, putting up 3 extra base hits including a homer while walking 5 times and striking out 4. A .238 head-to-head average leaves the door wide open for William to come out on top. Let's see how he matches up to his more experienced brother. While William has had a slightly greater 25 at-bats with Willson behind the dish, he also recorded a hit more times with 7. Despite not hitting a homer, William still matches his older brother with 2 doubles. Sure, William tops Willson in batting average here, but Willson also maintains a 5-to-4 K to walk ratio, clearly superior to William's 6-to-3 ratio. In reality, all it would really take is a 2-for-4 game from Willson to balance this thing out, so given the extremely small sample size, I don't really see any real conclusions to draw from this pretty comparable matchup thus far, so I'm not going to declare a winner for this round. But if I were to jump to a hasty conclusion based on the limited matchups, I'd say William looks to be the better pure hitter, while Willson has mastered the art of being a better pitch caller. I mean, a bigger Ladies and gentlemen, this match is over. William Contreras in the first 2 rounds takes it to his older brother and shows him who's boss, meaning
the torch has been passed.
As MLB Network says, William is the better catcher right now, coming in at a modest number 5 in MLB. Give it a few more seasons, and at this rate, William should be able to catch his older brother in those pesky counting stats so long as he stays healthy. Like I mentioned earlier, I think William is poised to take another big step forward offensively this year. After dominating catcher offensive stats and running away with the 2023 Silver Slugger, William has already proven himself to be one of the best catchers, but not only that, officially better than his bigger brother at baseball. Look for him to break out here in 2024. Let me know down in the comments below, who do you think is the superior Contreras? And what's your outlook for their 2024 seasons? If you've made it this far, thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this new video. If you could leave a like, it would be much appreciated, as it'll help share this video with other baseball fans. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more Brewers content like this from me throughout the year. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time, baseball fans.